Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another premiere draft of March the Machine, the Aftermath. Without further ado, let's get into the draft. We have several very sweet picks here, primarily in the uncommon and rare slots, but we do have the best common in the format as well. Preening Champion, 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer and a 1/1. Evasive threats like flyers play well in the format, and getting 2 bodies off of 1 card is really nice as well for Convoke, for protecting battles, for all kinds of nonsense. So Preening Champion's great. There's also Merciless Repurposing for a huge 2-for-1 removal spell. It exiles as well, which is great in this format because there is Graveyard Recursion. There's also Captive Weird at uncommon, which is a nice 2-for-1 creature. 1 mana for a 1/3, but then on turn 3, it's a 3 mana 3/3 that draws you a card. And Knight Errant of Eos in the rare slot, which can get convoked out and potentially draw you some cards. I'm going to roll with the rare here, but I think any of these 4 cards that I mentioned would all be pretty great picks. But we'll start off with the potential big Convoke dork that can draw us some extra creatures. See what we get for pack 1, pick 2 now. We've got Emoti, Celebrant of Bounty, which is a very nice 2-for-1. For 5 mana, you get a 3/1 on the board, and you cascade and cast your next spell with mana value 4 or less out of your deck for free. And then you can keep doing that every time you cast a spell with mana value 6 or greater. So Moti's pretty fun to build around. You essentially just take her, and then you take a bunch of the big land cyclers mostly, just so you have a bunch of big 6-7 mana cards to trigger that ability. Tandem Takedown's a fine removal spell, but if I take a green card here, I think I'd rather take Tangled Skyline, which is a really good way to help stabilize and get a very large, very good blocker on the board. Gain 5 and get a 5/5 reach eventually. Our Aftermath card is pretty much unplayable in draft, and there's no other good white cards here. Surge of Salvation is like fine, but these are all really filler. I think I just want to take Tangled Skyline here. I think it's the best monocolored card in the pack. Emoti is powerful, but I have done a lot of Emoti stuff in the past. I'm not super interested in turning this deck into yet another one. PNLR, Consul of Revival. Very cool, very fun build around for Commander and Standard and Brawl and all of those formats. Not the easiest thing to build around in draft, however, there are some cards to do it. So whenever we play lands from exile or cast spells from exile, we get 1/1 flyers. Well, with Ren's Resolve, that could pop off, so we could try to be like a red-white PNLR deck. That being said, we do have the best uncommon and the best battle in the format in this pack, Invasion of Amonkhet. Could be an okay sign for blue-black. It is only pick 3, and this doesn't go with any of our first 2 picks, but it is an incredibly powerful card that you should take really highly in this format. So I think strictly trying to win, probably another pack we should take Invasion of Amonkhet, but I have done probably twice as many blue-black drafts as every other archetype, so I'm going to try to do something actually unique and cool here, and maybe try to get a PNLR to work if we can get some ways to cast spells from exile. Not looking too hot here, though, because the white and red cards are pretty filler, Burning Sun's Fury and Core Halberd, whereas here we have Elvish Vatkeeper in green-black, which I think is what I'll go with to go with our Tangled Skyline. Get a start on a green-black Incubator deck that looks pretty powerful. There's also Invasion of Eldraine, which is fine. Chomping Kavu, which is fine. Vanquish the Weak, which is fine. Pretty solid pack, just not in red or white. Or blue for that matter. We'll take the Elvish Vatkeeper. Pack 1, pick 5, we get a nice late Final Flourish. This is excellent cheap removal. 2 mana for an instant to do -2/-2. You can sacrifice an artifact or a creature to make it -6/-6 instead, so it can kill most of what you need it to kill, even if it is going to be at somewhat of a cost there. There's also Converter Beast, which works really well with Elvish Vatkeeper, which is fun. But I'd like to get my first removal spell first, I think. Converter Beasts tend to go a little bit later than Final Flourishes on average. Best 3 cards in this pack being Final Flourish, Converter Beast, and Afara's Dispersal, another great piece of cheap interaction. We're not really touching blue yet, so we'll take the Flourish. Pick 6 now, we do get one of these Converter Beasts. Overgrown Pest is also quite solid, but I think if I end up in the green-black deck, Converter Beast is going to be better. It just works so well with Elvish Vatkeeper. If our opponent doesn't have early interaction in their hand, we could go turn 3 Vatkeeper, turn 4 Converter Beast, turn 5 attack with a 10/10 Phyrexian token. That is the dream curve where you're doubling the +1/+1 counters on your egg that has 5 of them on it. So I think it's just too fun with the Vat Keeper. I got to go for that here. Overgrown Pest is a little more flexible because it does draw lands out of the top 4 or top 5, sorry. So it helps you splash a little bit more. But when you're trying to zero in on a specific archetype, when you have cards like Vat Keeper and Tangled Skyline, I think the Converter Beast is a little better here. Pack 1, pick 7, another Converter Beast versus a Streetwise Negotiator. There's also Storm the Seed Core, which is a fine finisher, but I think I prefer the solid creatures, making sure I've got a good curve first. So I think I want to make sure I get a 2-mana creature into this deck. Yes, Converter Beast does synergize better with the Vat Keeper and the Skyline, but your curve is pretty important in pretty much every modern limited format, so we can't have like 6 4-mana creatures and 2 2-mana creatures, or we're just not going to be doing enough in the early game. And Streetwise Negotiator is one of the best 2-drops, just straight up a 2-mana 3/3 at worst. That is a pick 8 Final Flourish, so definitely happy to be probably going into black right now. That is the best card in this pack. There's also Omen Hawker, which plays really well with Incubate tokens, because you can tap this to just flip one of your Incubators. So that can be pretty good. Can be solid in the right deck. Those are probably the best cards here. We'll take the Flourish, though. Pick 9, there's another Omen Hawker. There's also another Converter Beast, and I can happily take that since I did go ahead and get a 2-drop earlier. Now there's an opportunity to take a Converter Beast where it's not competing with an early game play, which is definitely nice for us. For pick 10, I don't really want to play any of these cards. Like, Protocol Knight is a pretty good card, but only for the Blue-White Knights deck. The rest of this is all filler. So there's a card that doesn't work with anything we're doing, and 3 cards that don't work with what we're doing and are really filler. I guess I'll just take a Flywheel Racer in case I end up in a position where I'm desperate for mana fixing. And we'll just cut off some on-color cards, even though it's pretty unlikely that we play the Copper Host Crusher. If we end up wanting some kind of big 8-drop, usually you could just find some kind of bomb rare to fill out the late game slots instead. Don't believe I'll be playing any of these cards, so I'll go ahead and rare draft the new card. Whenever you see me checking how many of everything I own, that's just by holding down the Alt key. On Windows, I believe the Options key. On Mac, if you want to do your own rare drafting. Take an Archivist here. I guess I'll take the Ren's Resolve here, just in case something really weird happens and we do get to try to play the PNLR deck. Feels unlikely, though. Green-black is looking like a pretty good spot to be. We're getting a lot of green cards throughout the draft, and the Final Flourishes have been going kind of late, so... Sure, we don't have a huge quantity of black cards, but, again, the Final Flourishes are going late enough. I think we should get a few of them. Pack 2, pick 1, Voldaren Thrillseeker is the rare, which is fine. Pretty solid card. Don't think it's a reason to swap our second color and try to be green-red, though. I don't think it's that powerful, but it is good. We could take a 3rd copy of Final Flourish, or we could take a Wary Thespian or Portent Tracker. This doesn't seem like a really rampy kind of deck for Portent Tracker. We seem pretty average, pretty mid-rangey. I guess we do have a lot of mana sinks because of all the Incubator tokens we're going to have. Portent Tracker could be okay here. Still feel like I'd rather have Thespian first. Get more kind of aggressive early drops. And I think rather than either of those, I'll just start off this pack with Final Flourish and see what I wheel between the two. I don't think both of those cards are going to get taken. Alright, pack 2, pick 2. Invasion of Zendikar is really nice if you want to get some splashing in going. Doesn't really seem necessary here, and Overgrown Pest can also sort of help splash because it digs 5 cards deep looking for your splash color. And this is also a much better card if we end up in just a 2-color deck. Unless I also want a whole ton of mana ramp, like I want to main deck this Copper Host Crusher, but I don't think I need to be doing that as of now. So I'll just take an Overgrown Pest here. Could also take a Moti. Take a Moti and start taking some ways to help splash her in would be fine. But I think I'd rather just scoop up the Overgrown Pest. Very nice little value play. 3 mana, 2/2 draw a card, even if that card is just a land or a double-faced card. Alright, these black cards are really bad, these green cards aren't great. Now we can pretty easily take Invasion of Zendikar in case we do some splashing. Sarkhan's Soul of Flame, another very cool card from Aftermath. but pretty narrow one, very constructed, oriented, standard, brawl, all that stuff. You want to have a lot of dragons in your deck for Sarkin. Okay, Nezumi Informant and Aetherblade Agent are both solid 2-mana black creatures, and Assailant is a fine 3-mana green creature. Do not have a lot of 2-drops. It's probably time to take one of these. I'll go for the Nezumi Informant, pretty solid value play, giving your opponent a bit of card disadvantage. It's a 2-for-1, you get a 1/1, and your opponent discards a card off of your 1 card. Here's a Vanquish the Weak, which is fine. Not quite as good as our triple Final Flourish, but better than Bonded Herd Beast or Flitting Gorilla. Pack 2, pick 6, there's a Chomping Kavu. There's also Umori the Collector, which is pretty much impossible to play in the companion slot, especially this late during the draft. But it's still a 4-mana 4/5 that might give you a couple mana here or there off of the cost reduction. Also Unseal the Necropolis, which is a pretty good late game value play. Like, it's a fine late game value play in most decks. It becomes very good when you have a bomb creature of some kind. We kind of don't. So I think I'd rather just be on Chomping Kavu or Umori right now. I do like Chomping Kavu for helping hit an Invasion of Zendikar if we end up running that, being able to make a creature harder to block. Take an Ichor Drinker here. I have gotten blown out by a Death Rattle Oni 1 time, but it still feels really narrow because it's the kind of card that the only time you're ever going to see it cast is when it blows somebody out. You don't really see when this card is sitting in your opponent's hand doing nothing and they lose the game because they basically mulliganed. Which I think does happen. I think I'd rather just take Ichor Drinker and get more incubation going for our green-black incubate deck. It's a nice cheap creature as well, and we're very low on those, as you can see on our curve. We need more early game. Pack 2, pick 8, we'll take an Invasion of Lorwyn here as a fine removal spell. Very slow, very expensive as a 6-mana sorcery speed removal spell, but it makes up for that by potentially getting you some extra value if you can flip it. We'll take the Invasion of Lorwyn over the Gloomfang Mauler. And pack 2, pick 9, could take a Thornwood Falls to help splash in something in blue, or just take a Portent Tracker. I'm just going to take a Portent Tracker. Some potential mana ramp. It can also help chip away at our battles without having to attack in. Pretty nice if the board state is all locked up. Pack 2, pick 10. I don't really want to rare draft another Undercity Upheaval because I just don't think it really works in draft unless you have a ton of self-mill cards. There are some in black, but we don't have any in this deck. I think I'd rather just take a Bloodfell Caves in case we open up a sweet red card of some kind to splash in. Feels unlikely Swiftwater Cliffs makes the cut, but I think it's more likely than anything else here. Guess we can rare draft this Aftermath card. Now take a Flitting Gorilla. That can make the cut. That is a fine filler creature. And Plains is the last pick. Let's see what we open up. Pack 3, pick 1. So we've got an Ichor Drinker I would love to wheel. Then there's Notvold Hermit and Sailback, which are a bit more filler, but still fine. Then there's Collective Nightmare for excellent cheap removal. I guess we'll be taking the Collective Nightmare then. Unfortunately, our only pretty great rare that we've opened all draft has been in pack 3, and it is literally the 3 colors that we're not playing, so kind of a rough draft pod, rares, bombs wise. Again, because pack 2 we just opened up the backup red card, which is fine. And pack 1 we did take our rare Knight Errant, but didn't get a bunch of white cards to go with it, and it's also not that bomby, so not the strongest draft pod today. So we're going to end up in a pretty average looking green-black deck here, but I think that's fine because I don't think there were many opportunities to get a much stronger deck in this draft pod. There certainly weren't any opportunities to end up in a deck that has a bunch of bomb level threats. Whatever archetype we're playing today, it's going to end up being one that's very just synergy driven. Could I play a Gigantha in this deck? Yes, I can. All right. Well, there we go. That's not exactly a bomb, but it's a good card. We can't play the Copper Host Crusher, But if every card in our deck only has one of every mana symbol, so one black mana symbol, one green mana symbol, one generic mana symbol, which now it all does, then we get to start every game with an 8-card hand, which is valuable. Certainly more valuable than another portent tracker, I think. So we actually get a companion, and now it's starting to shape up. Now we've got not exactly a bomb, but certainly a high value card getting added to the deck there. Still don't love our curve. I'd still love a few more 2-mana stuff, 2-mana things to do. I like triple Converter Beast with the Vat Keeper. If I can get another Vat Keeper, then boom, we're just green-black incubate. Full synergy. Let's go. Skittering Surveyor is fine, but it's only really good if you are playing a third color in some form. So it would be fine, but it's basically a slightly weaker Overgrown Pest in this deck. I think I'd rather take a Tandem Takedown here, even though my creature count isn't super high. That's 12 creatures, but that's not counting the Tangled Skyline. So 13 creatures. Not the highest creature count ever right now, but I still think a Tandem Takedown is better than a not Volt Hermit here. So we already have 4 pretty great 4-drops, and the really nice thing about the Tandem Takedown is it can help us flip our 2 battles, potentially. So it's a more flexible removal spell than like Vanquish the Weak. I would just grab the Tandem Takedown, cut the Vanquish the Weak here, I think. Now there's a Wildwood Escort, which is a solid later game value play. There's also Herbology Instructor, a great early game play that can also turn into a removal spell late. I think, as I was saying before, we are low enough on 1-2-mana stuff to take the 2-drop over the 5-drop here. I do like the Escort, but I think the Instructor is a little bit better and, more importantly, a lot cheaper to get out immediately. There's a green-black dual land, there's a Kami of Whispered Hopes, there's a Wary Thespian, there's a Chomping Kavu. This pack is great. I think we take Kami of Whispered Hopes here. It's a fine mana dork, and it's going to make all of our Incubate tokens come into play with an extra +1/+1 counter. It's also going to double up our backup cards, so specifically just Chomping Kavu in this deck, but I think this is pretty fine here. Traumatic Revelation is kind of sort of a 2-drop and kind of sort of an Incubate card. Sailback's fine. Historian's fine. I don't know. I don't love Revelation, but I think it makes the most sense here. Another Chomping Kavu. 4 3-mana cards, 4 4-mana cards. I think I'd rather have a 5th 3-drop than a 5th 4-drop here. Take a Serpent Blade Assailant. Pretty solid backup ability on this as well, much like the Kavu. Adaptation's a solid combat trick, but I don't think I'll have room in my non-creature slots for the combat trick with 5 really good removal spells. I guess I could cut this Invasion of Zenda card. Doesn't make too much sense in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 non-creature cards. You know what? I think I would play an adaptation over the not Volt Hermit. Take some nonsense here. We're late enough in the draft. We know we're not splashing blue. Let me actually just take an uncommon for Vault Progress. Alright, and then I guess I get my first copy of this card from March the Machine. And we can take this not Volt Hermit and run that one. This is 24 cards, 16 lands right now, so we'll get to cut a card out of here. Maybe Traumatic Revelation, maybe Flitting Griller, maybe the not Volt Hermit. I think those are the most mediocre cards in the deck. But yeah, overall, still does look pretty average. 100%, a pretty average looking deck. Oh, I forgot about, oh, I'm so sad about that. Okay. Completely forgot about Giganta when I took Tandem Takedown. So I guess Tandem Takedown is the cut. So we put Vanquish the Weak back in. Or I could just fully cut it and then there's our 40 cards. Dang. Oh, that's such a sad little brain fart there. I wonder what I took it over. I think there were other solid cards in the pack. Dang it. Oh, Giganta. Forgot about that companion restriction. Well, obviously that pick wasn't correct. We also ended up cutting Invasion of Zendikar, so the tandem takedown got a little less exciting anyway, so I guess it's not that bad. Not like the absolute end of the world to have to cut it. But obviously, whatever else was competing for it in that pack would have been the better pick, because we might have actually played it, instead of definitely not. Alright, so basically like I said before, Flitting Gorilla, Not Volt Hermit, Traumatic Revelation feel like the most filler cards in this deck. Adaptation also pretty filler, but it depends on our creature versus non-creature count right now. This is 15 creatures plus a Tangled Skyline. That's kind of plenty. So I think I can just cut creature. And this is all for if we want to put Vanquish the Weak back in, which I think we do. I think running a Vanquish the Weak would be better than these. Let's keep that curve looking great. Let's slap in a 2-drop still. We'll go 5 3-drops and 4 4-drops. Drop the Not Volt Hermit. I guess the Hermit's backside is like really good with the Incubate tokens. But the really big issue with the card is that you have to invest 4 mana for the 4/4 and then 5 mana to flip it, so you invest 9 mana total. So it plays very, very poorly against cheap interaction from your opponents, and basically everybody should be drafting the cheap interaction very highly. So you end up dumping 9 mana into this card, and your opponent just spends 3 mana on the Afara's Dispersal before you declare an attack with it. And you fall really far behind and probably just lose that game. So your opponent just got like a 6 mana advantage on you, spending 3 mana to deal with your 9 mana worth of plays. And obviously the same is true if your opponent spends 4 mana to deal 4 damage to it, or 4 mana to destroy it, or any of that kind of stuff. So that's why cards that just have enter the battlefield effects for immediate impact play so well in the format, and there's so many of them that it makes it harder to run cards like Not Volt Hermit. It makes it harder to justify that when you have cards like Converter Beast, Chomping Kavu, Overgrown Pest. That's like whatever happens to these, they just immediately give you some value. Same with Vat Keeper, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll just drop the Not Volt Hermit here and put the where is it at? Vanquish the Weak back into the deck. And there you go, there you have it. That is going to be the deck of the day. Alright, here is a look at the completed deck list for today. It's going to be a pretty average green-black incubate strategy. We've got a very solid curve of creatures and a lot of them fitting that consistent incubation game plan. We've got Ichor Drinker into Nezumi Informant, Herbology Instructor, Portent Tracker, and Streetwise Negotiator on 2, so a decent amount of 1s and 2s. I'd prefer to have a little bit more early game plays, but we have a Traumatic Revelation as well to be casting a little early, trying to deal with any potential bomb rares in our opponent's hand, make them discard them. If we can't, we do still get to get an Incubate token, which helps fit our game plan. We then have Flitting Gorilla, just as a filler flyer. Kami of Whispered Hopes, which makes all of our incubation more powerful, as well as all of our backup cards become more powerful. We have about 3 cards with backup, and like something between 6 and 8 cards that incubate, I think. Overgrown Pest is a nice 2-for-1 value play. The Assailant is a decent backup creature, and the Elvish Vat Keeper, probably the strongest card in the deck. With this much incubation, this is going to be able to potentially double up the power and toughness of any eggs that we try to flip. We then have Chomping Kavu on turn 4 and triple Converter Beast. These are the Wombo combo with Elvish Vat Keeper. If we can get a 5 power and toughness incubator onto the board and then flip it, it turns into a 10/10, which is massive. So that's the whole creature curve. We've also got the Tangled Skyline on 5 for the creature curve as well. And that is going to give all of our Phyrexian's Reach, which includes all of the eggs that we've flipped, as well as gaining us a bunch of life. So this is another card that really helps with the archetype. And then other than that, for our non-creature spells, it's just a bunch of interaction pretty much. Bunch of cheap removal like Final Flourishes, Vanquish the Weak, Collective Nightmare, one good late game removal spell with Invasion of Lorwyn, and one solid combat trick with Arachnoid Adaptation. So that's pretty much the whole deck, but we were lucky enough to get a pretty free companion. We had to cut one Tandem Takedown to play this, but Gigantha the Wellspring is certainly worth it. Not the scariest, craziest card ever, but we get to essentially start every game with an 8-card hand. Once we run out of stuff to do, we can spend 3 mana to put this into our hand whenever we've got an extra 3 mana lying around, and then just get a 5 mana 5/5 on board later in the game. So another decent value play there. So that is the deck. That is our game plan. Again, very average, but we have a lot of interaction and a decent curve of creatures, which is enough to win a decent amount of games of Limited. Can be a bit harder in this format, but we didn't really have any opportunities to play any bomb rares, really. The only one I would really call a bomb was something that we opened up pack 3 and was exactly off color from our plan. It was blue, red, white, so we could still have some issues with that, not having anything super high impact, but overall, I think it's one of the more solid archetypes we could have ended up in our draft pod, so we'll have to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1 with a pretty great curve. I think we'll go Ichor Drinker into Portent Tracker into the Overgrown Pest, play all the cards that can immediately affect the game as much as possible, with Portent Tracker getting that extra mana that'll help us dump our cards onto the board a little bit quicker. So just go for all the immediate impact possible and then drop the Informant later, because that can have a better impact later in the game when your opponent's down to only a couple cards. And the Portent Tracker is definitely a lot stronger the earlier you cast it. There's a Vanquish the Weak here. I don't have any 1-mana double-faced cards, so I don't need to Overgrown Pest pre-combat. Let's just send in for 2, and then drop the Pest down. Pick up Herbology Instructor or a land. We've got 4 mana right now. We are trying to hit the 6-drop Invasion of Lorwyn and a 5-drop Gigantha. Yeah, we'll take the land over the Instructor. Next turn, I can put Gigantha in hand and play an Azumi Informant. Probably the line. Our opponent has just played lands the first 3 turns, and that is it. It's interesting. Let's see what's up. Let's put a Gigantha into our hand. They are on blue-red, which tends to be blue-red Convoke, which tends to run a lot of cheap creatures, so maybe just an awkward hand for them in general, starting this game off. Oh no. They have played Islands, Mountains, and they discarded the double white Daxos, so something really funky is going on with their mana base. And it is not working out how they imagined it would. They don't have a board wipe here. Gigantha turn 5 is probably going to be enough. A 5/5, 3 1/1s, and a 2/2 is our current board state. There is the first white source for them. See if that keeps them in the game here. We do have 3 different removal spells in our hand, so it'll have to be something that makes multiple creatures. If they have like a Sunfall, if they have a way to survive this turn, they might be able to crawl back into this game and find the victory. But they don't have the mana to cast a Sunfall yet. They would need double white. That would exile our whole board and give them a gigantic egg. Sigil Sentinel is the play. Just going to be a 3/3. We'll just see if Vanquish the Weak is enough here. Because if it's not, I could untap a land and Collective Nightmare. Alright. It is going to be enough. That is going to be game. I guess I wouldn't even have to untap a land there. Since the Collective Nightmare has Convoke, we could just Convoke it with the Rat or something. Alright, so looks like our opponent just got a bit ambitious with their mana base, and their keep did certainly not work out for them. So 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2, monocolored hand here, but if I draw any land I can drop Overgrown Pest turn 3 into picking up the land for Converter Beast turn 4. This also digs 5 cards deep, trying to find the swamp to activate the rest of the hand, which is all late game plays. We don't need to Flourish turn 2 or Nightmare turn 3. So I think I'm going to keep this. We're relying pretty hard on this Overgrown Pest, but again, we're on the draw, and hitting a single land in our first 3 draw steps is going to activate pretty much the entire hand. More likely than not. Alright, that is 2 more black cards for the first 2 draws. See if we can't get any land from our deck for draw number 3. Our opponent is on blue-black. The strongest archetype in my opinion. They're descending with a Blightsower Thallid, and we're just not going to hit a land for our first 3 draw steps. Or the Ichor Drinker here, since it's got that graveyard ability. There's the Skittering Surveyor from our opponent. Picks up a swamp. We take 4, we're down to 13 now. That is another missed land drop. Here comes Herbology Instructor. But we did draw a castable spell at least there. There's the 3rd color from our opponent, blue, black, green over there. They have just milled double swamp off of Invasion of Amonkhet. We'll discard our 6-mana Invasion of Lorwyn to the Amonkhet's ability. Gotta take this 3. Surprised they don't go for the invasion. Maybe they have a Render Inert in their hand or something to kill it in one swoop. It's another missed land. We'll pass turn. Flip the Mind Stinger is very powerful against just a 1/3, because now they draw a card every time they hit us or hit one of their battles. This thing's never going to flip, but it's probably better to hold off until it can actually double block and kill something. If I hit one more land, I have a 2/2 and 1/3 which can double block and get a kill. We'll go to 7. Alright. We are still technically not dead, but I'm pretty sure that's the nail in the coffin there. I block 1 creature and take 5. If they cast 1 removal spell, I am dead. There's the Render Inert to flip the Invasion of Amonkhet, as I imagined. The play that really let us read that they had that in their deck, or at least in their hand, or at least in their deck, was that they chose to keep attacking me instead of that. And they could have easily gotten some damage in. Alright, and there's the Vanquish the Weak. Well, we just didn't draw a single land all game. That'll happen. Even if the hand was, like, good initially, if it was, like, I don't know, Forest, Swamp, Swamp, and a collection of good cards, if we don't draw a single land all game, we're still going to lose. So I don't think that was a particularly bad mulligan. I don't think that was a particularly bad keep. I don't think I should have mulliganed. We needed, again, just 1 land drop, and then Overgrown Pest digs 5 cards deep so the odds of Overgrown Pest not hitting the 4th land are super, super low, so I think that was a reasonable keep. We just needed to hit a single land in the first 3 draw steps for the hand to play perfectly, as if it was just a perfect keep, and hitting a land within the first 5 or 6 turns, we would have still been in this game. We just kind of got hosed there. Definitely happens. 1-1 heading into game 3. Another monocolored hand for us. We have Informant and Flourish no matter what. As soon as we hit a green source, we have Negotiator Adaptation. Not a great hand, because these are both early game plays, so if it takes a while to get the green source, these are going to be less impactful later for sure. We've got to draw into some kind of gas here. I don't know if it's worth mulligan though. Castable cards. I don't know, I'll mulligan this one after what happened last time. This does look stronger. Go for full ramp here. With Tracker, Whisper, and Invasion. I might actually ditch a land with the Tracker in hand. We go Tracker into Kami into Negotiator. Might be a little greedy. I think I'm going to go for it here. The Aki Scrap Chomper. Turn 1 from our opponent. Let's drop our Portent Tracker and pass the turn. Playing against Rakdos. No 2-drop play for them. I guess we'll play our Kami and poke them for 1 red-black. Do they have anything to untap or play a flash creature? No, so we can chip in for 1. If they have anything to kill Tracker, it would just be anything that kills a creature regardless. Here's the Kami before we play the Streetwise Negotiator, so that we might get to double up there. Land number 3 for our opponent. Stoke the Flames, the Kami of Whispered Hopes. Fair enough. Let's just run things out. Play our Herbology Instructor and our Streetwise Negotiator. We know it's not going to get an extra counter anyway. No point in waiting longer. Land number 4 for our opponent. They drop a Voldaren Thrillseeker onto the board. Make the Scrap Chomper a 3/3 so they can poke us for 3 and then shoot one of our creatures. Or they could just keep it as a 3/3. We'll see what they want to do. Poke the Streetwise Negotiator is the play. Fair enough. I might want to Final Flourish this Thrillseeker so it can't shoot my Portent Tracker. Because we need the Portent Tracker to try to hit this invasion. This also uses all 5 of my mana decently. I also need the Portent Tracker to get to the 6 mana for the Instructor. Yeah, they're definitely... It's only 1 mana to kill Portent Tracker. They're definitely going to kill it, so let's try to negate that. Shove a Giganta in our hand and attack for 1. They've got 4 cards in their hand, 5 mana on the board. This is where they're going to start getting to some pretty impactful plays, potentially. Nothing. I don't know how impactful the play of nothing is. I guess we'll find out. Attack with both of these. Okay, no removal yet. Probably holding up an instant to kill Giganta. Not much I can do about that. I don't really have another line. Unless I want an Invasion of Lore when they're nothing on board. Yep, Deadly Derision it is. Goodbye, Giganta. They now have 7 mana because they have 6 lands and a treasure token, and they're going to play a Furnace Host Charger, which I think I will happily kill with an Invasion of Lorwyn. If I top deck another land, I'll have the mana to play the Skyline and flip the Incubator all in 1 turn, which could be cool. But for now, let's kill this gigantic 5/5. We've got 5 lands on board. And I think I chip into the Invasion. Well, 1, next turn, hit for 2, it's down to 2, hit for 2 again. Might be better to hit their face, because a single hit from a 5/5 kills the Invasion of Lorwyn, so we might be on the plan of just hitting it with a 5/5 one time. I don't know, I think I'll still hit it right now. They're at 16 life. 1 damage to the 5 loyalty invasion is probably still more likely to matter than 1 damage to the 16 life player at this point. There's a Yuri, Master of the Review, which is pretty strong with treasure tokens. So that could be a 2/2 that, when it dies, deals 2 to any target. Play an Overgrown Pest. Get another land here. Actually, maybe should have held off on the Overgrown Pest, because now I can't afford the Skyline. think I did my quick maths wrong. Thought I'd be able to do that and then have the untapped mana to play the Skyline. Not quite. 1 mana off from doing that. Yeah, I probably should have just ran out the Skyline and passed. This is still fine. We'll just poke the invasion. Definitely didn't want to Instructor the Yuri because then they just kill the Portent Tracker. Because we'd give it -0/-3. We'd kill it and then they shoot the tracker for 1 damage. I guess that could be fine this turn, since the invasion is at 3. I can use the tracker to put the invasion down to 2 and then use Instructor to kill the Master of the Review. They could kill Instructor in response to me trying to do that, which would be bad. Play around instant speed removal. They've got 6 mana and 3 cards in hand. Instant speed removal makes more sense than anything else that could be in their hand, so I'm going to drop Tangled Skyline. Give me something to do with Portent Tracker if they kill it mid-combat, and then just see what happens if I send these at Invasion of Lorwyn. Right, this forces a removal spell or a chump block out of them, unless they just let me flip it and then use the removal spell on the flipped card. Alright, cool. So they're going to let me flip it, so they're probably going to use another Deadly Derision on this 6/6, which then clears the path for my 5/5. I don't need the 5/5 up on blocks, so I'm actually going to play Ichor Drinker here. Just flip that next turn and still attack with it. Furnace Rains. So they're going to sacrifice it to something. Well, I'm pretty happy I played an Ichor Drinker. Counter them from getting their treasure token. I think that's worth it. If that deals damage to me, they get another treasure token from Furnace Rains, which is another card to make the Master of the Review even bigger. Be pretty uncool. Okay. Sack it and draw 2. That is pretty strong. Now they can make Master of the Review a 3/3. So let's try to kill it now, I think. Before I flip my egg. Great. To be expected. It's a 3/3 that when it dies does 3 to any target. I guess it gets to trade into my 5/5. Don't really have another choice. Unless I just want to never attack into this. Can't send the 2/2 in because they sack the treasure and block the 2/2 with a 3/3. Judith the Scourge Diva. Now when their non-tokens die, they deal 1 to any target. Yuri also gets +1/+0, so it deals 4 to something when it dies, 5 if they have the treasure for Final Flourish. Yep, 5 damage when it dies, and they killed my dork. Our opponent is drawing very hot this game. All gas, no brakes. Good grief. Come on down, Converter Beast. Get another 5/5 at least, but not in a great position. God, yeah, this Judith is disgusting. That Rouse Reinforcement's now 2 mana for 2/2/1s. Oh, Lord. Alright, there's the Final Flourish for Judith. Might be better to try to use it at instant speed to ruin their blocking plans. Probably is. Okay, so they play around instant speed removal for Judith by doing that. This doesn't play around instant speed removal for Judith. I guess it does, because Judith can shoot the 5/5 for 1. And then the 5/5 takes 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage total. Alright, yeah, so smart block from our opponent. Yep, shoot the 5/5, and it's just a full trade there. And the board state has evened out a little. Yeah, I'm still not in a winning position. I just can't get through this 3/3. But I think I was at the losing position before I drew Final Flourish. So now we're just in one of these let's see who draws best positions. Chomping Kavu is a decent start to that. So I play the Kavu, put a counter on the Phyrexian here, I guess, and then they could use Master of the Review to trade into the Phyrexian and the Kavu. But then I'm slightly ahead, finally. Because they have a 1/1 and we have a 2/2 and a 1/1. I don't think the 0/1 really matters, but yeah, a 2/2 and a 1/1's better than a single 1/1. Alright. Let's go. Get in there, 2/2. Rouse reinforcements. Well, there goes our 2/2. At least they don't have good attacks against a 2/2 right now. Oh, this is some classic Magic the Gathering for you. It's all about the lands. Land pass, land pass, land pass, land pass. I think our opponent had like, what, 3-4 turns of just land pass there? Pretty wild stuff. I'm going to save Converter Beast to chump block 6 damage instead of 4. But yeah, Fearless Scald, pretty massive here. 3/2 Double Striker. Definitely the best card on board. We've got a ton of removal in this deck. It would all kill the Fearless Scald. So that is what we want to draw. We gotta hit it soon though, or the Fearless Scald is going to chip through our whole deck. So we have 1 Final Flourish, 1 Collective Nightmare, 1 Vanquish the Weak left. So still 3 ways to kill it. Actually, it probably would have been better to trade both of my 1/1s into the 2/2 so that I still had infinite blocks for their 1/1s. That is a great draw. 5/5 is big enough to trade into the 3/2 if I want to do that. I don't really want to. Alright, if they don't attack, then not much choice. What is the most expensive card left in my deck? Converter Beast at 4 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have enough mana to play Converter Beast, flip its Incubator, and flip this Incubator all in the same turn, so I don't need to flip this immediately. So I'll leave it unflipped until I need to actually attack or block with it, which is not what's going to happen right now. So if I attack, we're just trading into Scald. When we know we have 3 ways to kill Scald in our deck, so I don't think I should offer that trade. In case I draw a way to kill Scald, then I kill Scald and start setting in a 5/5 as the win condition. Hello, Urabrask. That is a 4/4 first strike. They cast instants and sorceries. They deal damage to us. Okay, so it basically doesn't do anything. Unless they draw 3 more instants or sorceries. To play 3 instants or sorceries in one turn, then we lose the game on the spot. They just flip into the Great Work and go wild. Oh my god. That is a win condition. I completely forgot we had a Vat Keeper in this deck. I suppose I'll do that, shall I? Oh, nope. Use the Vat Keeper ability to flip that. I was gonna try to click on it and then use the 5-man ability, but that's not how it works. You have to click on the Vat Keeper, not the egg. I don't actually have the mana to flip this other egg as a gigantic threat. Down to 9. And also the other egg isn't going to be that gigantic. It's just going to be a 4/4, but that's okay. Oh my god. Got a single 1/1 up. I should have played Converter Beast pre-combat in case something happened to Vat Keeper during combat. Actually, I need chump blockers to play it safe. Let's do this. Yeah, I should have played Converter Beast pre-combat. Okay, looks like it doesn't matter. But that's pretty beautiful. Hit a couple Converter Beast Elvish Vat Keeper in the late game to close it out. Yeah, a bunch of 10/10s are going to get there in the end. Looks like we had just a little bit bigger late game stuff than our opponent, and our opponent had an Urabrask. So, feels nice to put the commons and uncommons together to do our little combo, make a 10/10, which is just bigger than anything they can play. Break our way through Judith and Urabrask and all that. Alright. Well, that went a lot better than I thought it was going to go after a little while there. Once they got that Master of the View really large and we had to be in the top deck war there, and both players just kept playing a land and passing, I was like, well, guess we're doing this for a while, but we hit straight gold in the end of that game with the Elvish Vat Keeper. Absolute MVP. We're now 2-1 heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. Pretty solid hand here. It only has 2 lands, but we're on the draw and we have 2 different mana dorks. So, definite keep. Enduring Bond Warden, turn 1 from our opponent. Nice and aggressive. Start things off with their 1 mana 1/2. We drew into a 1-drop ourselves. We get to start the game with an Ichor Drinker. Does not do a lot, but does hit the board. It does exist right now. If they don't play a 2-drop creature, then we just make up for all the life loss the Bond Warden gives to us. All the damage it deals. Sword Sworn Cavalier. Alright, well, looks like Ichor Drinker actually the Stone Cold Nuts. That Cavalier is not going to be able to attack unless they play a land. Not a land, a knight. What do I think? I'm drafting Zendikar right now? This has got a landfall trigger. Uh-oh. That's a knight. That's a very powerful card as well. From March the Machine Aftermath. When it deals combat damage to a player, if it has less than 4 +1/+1 counters on it, they get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So 2 mana for a 2/2 menace that keeps getting bigger every single time it hits us. And if it makes it all the way to a 6/6 menace, we're probably dead by then if it's hit us that often. But if it does, then they get to start searching their library for cards. Oh, no attack with a 3/1 first strike. All right. Get a little bit of extra life gain here. Ichor Drinker gains us 3 life. Let's go. Final Flourish is the draw, so we have missed a land drop here, but we can play Kami of Whispered Hopes. I don't love that, but it feels pretty necessary since I haven't drawn any lands this game. Yeah. Kind of got to get our mana set up and hope for the best from there. We're just going to take 4 damage here, get hit by Oathsworn and Bond Warden. That's fine. Go to 13. Still a decent amount of breathing room for now. Ooh, psych. We're going to take 0 damage this turn, but they're going to draw 2 creatures probably. Yep. 5 mana, 4/4, draw 2 seems great. Actually, 1 mana, 4/4, draw 2. Things are going from bad to worse, and I've missed another land drop. Got 4 mana up, thanks to the mana dorks. Don't even know what I do with it. I guess I play the Instructor and hold up a Final Flourish. So I can like chump block with an Ichor Drinker and sack it and kill something else. Although the Final Flourish might just be directed at their 2/2 menace. There's an Izumi Freewheeler. Each player mills 3. And then they can reanimate something later. They milled Final Flourish, Overgrown Pest Forest from us. From them, they milled Merciless Repurposing, Seraph of New Capenna, Angelic Intervention. So the only card they could reanimate with Freewheeler right now is a Forest, because it picks up mana value 2 or less cards. Bond Warden's coming in, and when the Bond Warden dies, they put 3 counters on something else. We don't really want to kill that. Wow, I really want to double block that Sentinel. Then I don't get to Final Flourish. Unless I sacrifice one of my mana dorks, which I don't think I can afford to do right now. I feel like it's worth it. 7 damage is a lot, though. I guess if they play some kind of combat trick to save this, then I still have that Final Flourish opportunity. Okay, no combat trick? Sure. When I'm this choked on mana, I probably have to be as mana efficient as possible when it comes to dealing with my opponent's board state. Which means I do think I need to go for a post-combat Final Flourish here. The question is whether I just kill the 2/2 menace or sacrifice the Herbology Instructor to kill something bigger. I think I just kill the 2/2 menace. Scary enough. Okay. Land for us, so we've got 5 mana now. I've got the mana to incubate with Ichor Drinker. And play 1 spell, like a Chomping Kavu, a Converter Beast, a Gorilla. Could also hold up Vanquish the Weak and incubate. Would I Vanquish the Weak here? Nezumi Freewheeler? That's a pretty good Vanquish the Weak target. I'm gonna have pretty bad blocks this turn against the 4/4 and the 3/4, which is unfortunate. Take another 7, but kill the Freewheeler. Better than playing Kavu. If I play Kavu, I put 2 +1/+1 counters on something. I can make the Instructor a 3/5, which can block the 3/4 and the 4/4 all day. Maybe it's play the Kavu here for that. Ichor Drinker gives us a 3/3 as well. I'm gonna play the Kavu. This leaves us with only 2 blockers up, but Gives us an actual blocker for the 4/4 and 3/4 potentially. Not against a deadly derision, it doesn't. Alright. Take a million now. Sure thing. Down to 4. I don't really have a shot here. I can play a Converter Beast, but then I can't flip the Incubator without tapping both of these, which means I gotta go chump, chump, chump. And I can't even chump the Menace card. Could hold up Vanquish the Weak. Excuse me, Vanquish the Freewheeler. Have a 3/3 to flip. Put a 3/3 and a Portent Tracker on the Knight Errant and go to 1. Alright. Kill the Knight Errant and the Freewheeler and go to 1 life is the plan. Is their top deck a combat trick? Of course. Well, then we're dead. Actually incredibly close to stabilizing. Because if that resolved, and then we get the flip on the Incubator, the double block on the Knight Errant, go to 1 life, but we keep a Kami of Whispered Hopes against just a 3/4 on their board. We play a Converter Beast, just trump block the Bond board next turn, and then boom, we've got a 6/6 Incubate token. And from there, we just have the bigger board state. Obviously, we lose to this combat trick, but I think we got respectably close for missing some land drops there against an explosive start from our opponent. But yeah, I can't survive now, because I have to double block here, take 7, or I have to go block, block, take 5. And if I flip the Incubator, I still only have 2 blockers up. Oh, Angelic Intervention. RIP. Again, the life totals don't make it look close, but if that Vanquish the Weak resolved, we were going to be pretty far ahead on board pretty quickly. 2-2, heading into round 5. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 5. We've got a turn 3 Overgrown Pest, into turn 4 Converter Beast, go from there. Another Converter Beast, very nice. Portent Tracker is going to start things for our opponent on turn 2. They're on green and white. Okay, only have 1 black source right now. Let's grab another swamp with our Overgrown Pest. White, green, and blue from our opponent. Natural turn 3/3 color. I love our opponent's advertising. There's Schick Hydro razors. The Schick Hydro bot from the Game Awards that one year. Alright, they've got their own Converter Beast, but they ramped into it, which is rude. We probably just play our own. I don't think we need to get immediate chomping Kavu damage right now. Just start loading up Incubators onto the board. Ascendant for 2. They're not really going to hit me with a 0/1 or a 1/1, and I'm not going to chump the 5/5, so let's get 2 damage in. Next turn I could make pretty good use of 5 mana by putting Gigantha in hand and spending 2 on the Incubator or 2 on a Final Flourish. Could also spend 3 on a Vanquish the Weak and 2 on the Incubator, 2 on a Final Flourish. Ooh, stuck on 3 lands. Well, Final Flourish is looking incredibly tempting then. So do I want to Final Flourish and flip my egg? I kind of do want to do that. I really want to kill that Portent Tracker. Might be better to Vanquish the Portent Tracker and keep Final Flourish for something I could sack and kill the 5/5 with this Converter Beast. So... I want to kill the Mana Dork like right now while they're still low on mana. But theoretically, the play this turn could be flip the Incubator, go for an attack, then they flip the egg, then we Final Flourish, sack and Converter Beast to kill their egg, so that our 5/5 can just start getting in with no resistance. But I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to Stone Rain them pretty badly, destroy one of their lands while they're stuck, which means no attacks this turn. Yeah, let's just try to Vanquish the weak Portent Tracker. See how that goes. Cyber Cryptomancer? That'd be annoying. Could throw 2 removal spells at it. Okay, no, they're just getting an extra mana. Just pass from there. They are going to flip their egg, which means I don't really want to attack in with my egg when I can flourish theirs. If they had any way to protect one of their creatures, they would have used it on Portent Tracker. So I'm going to hold off on this Final Flourish till their end step, because unless they just now top-decked a way to protect, which they didn't, they top-decked this forest, we can still kill that Incubator in the end step, and now alternatively I could just flip my own if I don't need to kill it immediately. I think I am just going to kill it here, though. And we'll start attacking with our 5/5. Goreclaw's kind of spooky. It makes their other creatures potentially cheaper. Can give some trample. But I think it's better to kill the 5/5 so I could start attacking it with mine. Plays a little bit awkwardly here, because now I draw into Vat Keeper where I don't want to hit them with a 5/5 right now. Because I can make it a 10/10 later. Yeah. Get a little greedy here, get the Vat Keeper going. Put Giganta in hand and pass turn. I think that's literally the only draw in my deck that would make me not want to just flip a 5/5 and send in this turn. Go flip a 5/5, send in, play another Converter Beast. Would have been sweet. I'd love to see a land there. Because if they just have enough Far's Dispersal to kill this, that's gonna suck. I could drop Giganta rather than flipping a 10/10 right now, just so that I have the mana to... Oh no, this can't spend generic mana cost. This can't flip Incubators or use Vat Keeper's ability. Okay, never mind, then let's not. 2 more Converter Beasts to make sure I have an infinite supply of 10/10s coming up later. Let's just go for it. Would have loved to see a basic there. That would have been beautiful. Alright, they still don't have interaction, so we'll get at least 1 kill off of the 10/10 before it dies. Kill their 0/1. Yeah, basic land there would let us flip the 10/10 and have the mana to flip our 2/2, because 2 mana 2/2 versus a 5 mana 4/4, it's a lot less impressive than like a 2 mana 5/5 versus a 5 mana 10/10. Okay, so now we can Converter Beast and Herbology Instructor. I mean, I guess they probably stack up a block on the 10/10, but that's fine. I've got another Converter Beast coming. Got 2 more Converter Beasts coming, and they're just over it. So we are going to grab another victory here. Check how things are looking out on the prize tracker. We are now 3-2 in average win rate for an average deck, no matter what, But if we can win at least one more game, that is pretty much the break-even point. Getting 1,400 gems out of the 1,500 gem event. So let's see if we can't keep it up. Get at least one more win in here today. Alright, here we are for round 6. Very unkeepable hand. We'll mulligan that. Another monocolored hand. This one's a little bit more keepable, because it is a 4-lander instead of a 2-lander. We have one castable spell for turn 4. We are on the draw. I think I prefer this to a Molt of 5. If this were my opening hand of 7, I would probably mull down to 6, but I don't really want to mulligan to 5. We'll keep this 6. Turn 3, just put a Giganta in our hand, go from there. Hopefully nothing super aggressive from our opponent. Captive Weird, turn 1. Alright, they are starting it off relatively aggressive. We've got an Overgrown Pest here we can drop on turn 3 now. That was a pretty excellent draw for us. But our opponent is curving out Captive Weird into Skyclave Aerialist. Turn 3 now from their blue-white deck. Nothing, not even Flip the Weird, so holding up an instant. Potentially a counterspell for the Pest, but I've got nothing else I can do. Main deck change the equation. Why do I always get got by the main deck change the equations? RIP. I guess I don't get to see when I don't get got by the main deck change the equations. That's why it feels like you always get got. Because when you're in the late game and you're not playing red or green, and your opponent just has 2 or 3 hands, or 2 or 3 cards stuck in their hand, you're never going to see that they had to change the equation sitting there doing nothing all game. So that's probably why it feels like I always get got by these in the main deck. It's because I only see them when I'm actually playing red or green. Because the amount of times they can counter a 2-drop is just so low. What do I do here? We are getting absolutely beaten down. If I Revelation, that's all I'm doing for the turn, so I don't think that's where it's at. We could Vanquish the Weak now that we've hit a swamp. Maybe that's where it's at? The Aerialist doesn't get any extra power. It does draw them another card. Maybe we Vanquish the Conjurer. It's probably Converter Beast. We get a chump block, and then we are going to have a big enough blocker that the ground troops won't be able to attack it again. So next turn I can Vanquish the Weak, the Flyer, and block the ground creature, and that should be completely stabilized against their current board state. Seems fine. I go to 8. 8 isn't horrible. I think I can keep this around in case I draw Final Flourishes and stuff that would require the sacrificial fodder. I think I'm going to do this now so they have less mana up for potential combat tricks. Please die, Skyclave Invader. Nope. Cyber Cryptomancer. Well, is what it is. Last turn. Send in just the Flyer. We're down to 5. Can Traumatic Revelation them and hold up a Death Touching blocker as well? Seems fine. Seems better than Chomping Kabu right now. We're definitely not getting aggressive. Well, that's horrible. They have a Knight on the board? They don't have a Knight on the board. So this 3/4 just taps a creature for 1 turn. Invasion of Xerax just fully kills our Incubator token, so we kill that. I guess I can attack in with the with a 1/2 Converter Beast if I want. If I attack in with the 5/5, they can play the Knight, tap the Assailant. But then I can chump block for a turn. It's probably best to send in. Okay. Kill the 0/1. So they play the Protocol Knight, tap Assailant for 1 block step, and then I block Conjurer. Alright, they're not going to tap anything. Then I will trade with Conjurer. We're at 2. We've got 1 final opportunity to find a way to not die to the flyer. That is a sick joke, Arena. Oh. That is the 1 removal spell in my deck that won't do it. Because it's too much mana. I guess Collective Nightmare doesn't kill it, but it gives me 1 more turn. So Collective Nightmare would have been fine. But yeah, 3 Final Flourish were the ones we were wanting there. Tangled Skyline would be incredible. Alright. I guess I'm dead. Send a message though. Get in for a lot of damage. They can't even block. Boom. Alright, well here's a final look at the deck, this 3-3 very average green-black deck. I think that's a fine record for this deck. Obviously I don't love the way that we lost those games, and I think in terms of how the deck actually played during gameplay, it actually impressed me quite a bit. It actually overperformed a bit in terms of how it felt to play the deck. We had a lot of pretty awkward opening hands and a lot of mulligans going on, a lot of mono-colored stuff happening, so one of our losses, we didn't draw land all game, so that's whatever, that's going to happen. Another one of our losses, our opponent curved out really well with their Convoke 4/4 that drew them some extra cards. They had the Scary Menace cards and everything, and we still, even after missing some land drops, were like 1 card away from stabilizing. We just needed them to not have that final combat trick in the end. So I think that game as well, our opponent had a really good start. We had a pretty awkward start in terms of not hitting extra lands, and the deck still competed. It still fought really hard and was close to being able to stabilize and put the board state in our favor. So I think that game, again, even though it was a loss, the deck impressed me overall there. And then the final loss was kind of similar. If we could just find a removal spell to kill the flyer or a Tangled Skyline to get some reach going on, we had the card advantage and the ways to try to beat that long game. So if we drew just a little bit better, I think we could have won that game as well. So overall, even though it is a 3-3 run, it doesn't feel too bad because our deck still fought as hard as it could, even in the games it was losing. And I don't think we could have ended up with anything much stronger out of this draft pod. So it is what it is. 3-3. Not the end of the world today. We'll grab our 1,000 gems 2 packs, and that is going to end today's draft, and that's going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting the channel, as well as you for watching the videos. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.